Greetings, dear viewers and friends. I've never believed in what the majority of people believe, and that's exactly why, at the age of 23, I was able to achieve financial freedom through speculation. The most nonsensical statement in the world is painting a picture for you of what life will be like in 40 years. Because by then, you might not even have the chance to regret it. 97% of people in the world believe that the best financial management method is to harness compound interest. Why? Because someone named Albert Einstein once said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And the legendary investor Warren Buffett also claimed that he built his wealth slowly through it. These two statements have been exploited and endlessly propagated by those with ulterior motives, leading 97% of people to believe in a flawed financial mindset, using compound interest to trade the present for the future. Financial salespeople hear this repeated so often that they start to believe it's the truth. And then they'll tell you, start saving now. The interest earned each day will be added to the principal, growing each month, and even more each year. With interest compounding on interest, by the time you're 60, you'll have millions of dollars and can become a wealthy old man like Warren Buffett. Sounds pretty great, right? But hold on. Let's not even talk about how this information has been distorted. I just want to focus on the end result. I have to wait until I'm 60 to drive a Porsche? Where's the fun in that? I agree with the idea of using the present to secure the future, but if it's about trading today's money for tomorrow's money, I'm not playing that game. Having a long-term vision is important, but that's exactly why I choose to use today's money to make more money now. Because if you don't have money in the present, how can you expect to have it in the future? Recently, I came across an interesting story. Someone advised their friend to quit smoking, saying that if they stopped smoking a pack a day, the money saved over 20 years could buy a Porsche thanks to compound interest. But the friend calmly asked, "Do you smoke?" The other person proudly replied, "I've never smoked a single cigarette." The friend smirked and said, "So where's your Porsche?" See, that's the problem. If you're still watching at this point, I'll share how I understand compound interest to actually make money. And to those financial institutions constantly emailing me to become their agent, please stop. I'm not interested. I just want to speak directly, no middleman. Those who support me, please hit the like button to stay connected. I want to emphasize that this channel is for those who want to become entrepreneurs, investors, and wealthy individuals. If you don't want to miss valuable information, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. First, let's revisit our idol, Warren Buffett. Did he really get rich through compound interest? The truth is, by age 32, he already had over $1 million from investments. And that was $1 million decades ago. Did he earn a salary and use compound interest to get rich? Back then, the average person's annual income was about $3,000. So how did he turn that into $1 million? The reason is simple. He didn't study compound interest. He learned how to raise capital. At 26, Buffett raised $100,000 from family and friends to invest. 6 years later, he multiplied that amount tenfold. There are two key points here. First, Buffett's investment returns were truly phenomenal. Second, although he advises others not to borrow money to invest, he himself used other people's money to invest from the start. He always used financial leverage, but his risk costs were extremely low, sometimes even zero or negative. In other words, he used other people's money to invest, and those people still paid him fees. Buffett's investment fund company charges management fees whether it makes a profit or a loss. If there's a profit, he also takes a percentage of it. Additionally, he owns several insurance companies, where the capital raised is even cheaper than free money. In 2002, his company issued the first ever floating rate securities. In short, what he's really playing with isn't compound interest, it's financial leverage. Everyone knows Jeff Bezos got rich through Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg through Facebook, and billionaires worldwide through their businesses. So why is Warren Buffett singled out as someone who got rich through investing? Many people think that just buying stocks makes them like Buffett, and they see themselves as superior, especially compared to those who don't know how to invest in stocks. I can only laugh. Retail investors simply buying stocks are just buying stocks. When Buffett buys stocks, it's called acquiring businesses. He gains control over entire companies. For example, Berkshire Hathaway, his insurance conglomerate, was originally a textile company. When Buffett bought it, he initially planned to invest briefly and exit. But the company incurred heavy losses, unintentionally making him the largest shareholder. The problem was, Buffett didn't know textiles. So he used the company to acquire an insurance business, then transform Berkshire Hathaway into an insurance conglomerate. Under his management and restructuring, the stock value of Berkshire Hathaway skyrocketed, making it one of the greatest financial conglomerates in the world. Buffett holds a massive stake in the company. How could he not be rich? Looking at how he manages capital, it's clear he's more like an entrepreneur playing with capital flows than a mere investor. Most importantly, all his investment activities are built on an unshakable foundation: initial capital. This is also why the book Rich Dad Poor Dad teaches that you should become an entrepreneur first, then transition to being an investor. When you have a solid foundation, like Buffett's businesses generating stable cash flow and passive income, that's when investing becomes truly effective. First, at that point, your capital is large enough. If I invest a few $1,000,000, I don't need an extremely high return rate or a long time to make a lot of money. Meanwhile, if you're a salaried worker investing a portion of your income, even if you have a better return rate and longer investment period than me, you might never earn in a lifetime what I make in a year. Second, I can invest in areas you can't. You can only buy stocks or mutual funds, but I can buy real estate or even acquire small companies. Third, and most importantly, we invest without pressure. If we lose money, our businesses still generate cash flow. But if you, relying solely on your job's income, lose money on investments, you could lose everything. Many people have taken their own lives for this reason. I used to try everything to close the wealth gap, but I eventually realized I was too naive. The capital market operates under a brutal rule. The poor can join the ranks of the rich, but the rich rarely become poor. I've studied this issue deeply. Many say Buffett didn't have much money before 60, that 99% of his wealth was created after that age. That's a misunderstanding. By age 52, Buffett already had $370 million. He was very rich early on and only used compound interest later to amplify his wealth. If you truly understand compound interest, you'll see it has three core elements. First, initial capital, the amount you invest. Second, the rate of return, the profitability of your investment. Third, time. Of these, the most critical is initial capital. Return rates and time are just tools to multiply your initial capital, which is then reinvested. However, the risks in this process are enormous. First, every time you reinvest, you're putting both capital and interest at stake. Did your math teacher ever teach you a simple rule? If you make a 100% profit this year, $10,000 becomes $20,000. But if you lose 50% the next year, you're back to $10,000. In other words, if you lose 50% today, you need to make 100% tomorrow just to break even. Let me ask you, in the stock market or mutual funds, is it easier to lose 50% or to find an investment that doubles your money? Doubling your money in this era is very hard, while finding a stock that loses 50% of its value is very easy. That's the reality. Most stocks are influenced by the broader market. Some say Tesla's stock plummeted because Elon Musk was distracted by Twitter, but that's just an excuse. Look at Tesla's stock chart and compare it to the market index. They're very similar. Then look at Facebook and Amazon stock prices. They also dropped sharply with the market. These top stocks decline with the market's general trend. When you buy mutual funds, check their portfolios. They mostly hold these big stocks. And every so often, the market undergoes a major correction. If you only buy when prices are rising, how can you invest? Buffett is great because he has massive capital to invest, achieving not only a 22% annual return, but also the ability to reinvest the following year. I might earn higher returns than him through speculation and make money faster, but that's because I only dare to use a small portion of my capital and leverage to trade. My approach is completely different from his. I withdraw profits immediately, while he sticks to a strategy of earning less but staying stable over the long term. Besides real estate, most of my assets are invested in it because, in my view, real estate not only appreciates but also generates cash flow from rent. In the long term, its returns surpass most other investment channels. This is the only area where I can apply compound interest. If you understand what I'm saying, you'll see that I'm investing more stably than simply reinvesting capital and interest in the stock market. In stock investing, we only consider flow value. What does that mean? Imagine you're learning English vocabulary, studying 10 words a day. According to financial experts' theories, after 3 days, you'd remember 30 words without forgetting any. But that's impossible. In reality, by the fourth day, you'd likely forget a third of the 30 words you learned, leaving you with about 20 words. Those 20 words are the flow value you can maintain. The more you learn, the more you forget. In the stock market, full of experts, why do most people still lose money? If you've ever played cards at a casino, you'd understand. When your capital is too small, you don't even qualify to play the game. Or if you do, you're just prey for others. What about the real estate market? No experts? Actually, the government is the biggest expert. Even top Wall Street traders can't guarantee consistent annual profits. They'll definitely have losses at some point, and when they lose, the losses compound just like profits do. If you always reinvest both capital and interest, a single small loss can wipe out a huge chunk of your wealth. Buffett has more capital than you. He has a higher annual return rate than you. But over decades of investing, he couldn't afford a single major loss. Just one big loss could erase most of the profits accumulated before. So, the first rule of playing with compound interest is what Buffett says. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. In reality, in 2020, Buffett lost tens of billions of dollars investing in airline stocks during the pandemic. He could afford the loss, but can you? Can you invest by reinvesting both capital and interest? Do you have assets generating cash flow to cover losses? Why is compound interest said to be stronger than a nuclear bomb? It's simple. Your math teacher taught you the compound interest formula, right? For example, you invest $100,000 in a stock. In the first year, you earn a 10% profit, making $10,000. If you earn $10,000 every year and only invest $100,000 each year, after 7 years, you'd have $70,000 in profit. But if you understand compound interest and reinvest both capital and interest, it's different. The first year, you invest $100,000 and earn a 10% profit, making $110,000. The next year, you invest all $110,000 and earn another 10%, making $121,000. The year after, you reinvest everything again, and it keeps growing. By the 7th year, your money has nearly doubled. You started with $100,000, and now you have almost $200,000, meaning you've recovered your capital with significant profit. That's why your math teacher drilled this truth into your head. With simple interest, you earn $70,000. With compound interest, you earn $100,000. And they'll tell you, the longer compound interest runs, the greater the profit. If you invest $10,000 today and apply compound interest, after 40 years, it could grow to $450,000. Even more, if you add $10,000 from your salary each year and keep compounding, your profits could be more explosive than a nuclear bomb. This investment strategy is entirely correct because it's based on a perfect mathematical model. But if it's so simple, and we've known it since childhood, why are so many people out there still riding buses instead of driving supercars? The answer has already been mentioned. First, stable profits are not always easy to achieve. Second, as Buffett says, compound interest requires time. And most importantly, you must learn to protect your health and extend your lifespan first. Without time, what's the point of talking about compound interest? If Buffett had passed away before 60, he wouldn't have earned 99% of his wealth. And if that had happened, who in the world would know him? I'll tell you a truth that might make you hate entrepreneurs and business owners. If you're a salaried worker and past the age of 30 still loyally working as an employee, it's very hard to advance further. Why? Because everything you've accumulated by age 30 will plateau unless you're a natural genius or have exceptional luck. Otherwise, your career progression will be limited. This is a common situation. By this age, your position in the company is usually nearly fixed. Managers remain managers, department heads remain department heads. The higher you go, the fewer positions are available. When your role is capped, your salary is also nearly fixed. You might argue, that's not true. The company gives annual raises. True, your salary on paper increases. Before, hiring a college graduate might have cost $1,000. Now, it might be $2,000. But why? Is it because today's graduates are better? Has the quality of labor changed? No. Salaries rise due to inflation. Nominally, your income is higher, but in real terms, the value of that money is the same. You can verify this by checking market prices. Many countries use this tactic to adjust minimum wages to appease the masses. They tell you, we've increased your salary. But what they don't say is that prices have risen too. On the surface, you feel like you're benefiting, but in reality, you're not gaining anything. So, I'll be blunt. When you're young, with limited capital and no control over interest rates, don't dream about compound interest. It's not important to you. I always advise people when they're young to focus on finding ways to increase their income. But most people only worry about saving every penny. That's a way to comfort themselves, thinking that as long as they save, they'll have a stable and happy future. The result? They become part of the 97% whose savings are wiped out by inflation and economic downturns within 10 years. This is called shearing the sheep. Buffett can play with compound interest because he uses other people's money to create leverage. I invest in real estate following a similar path, but we don't accept the idea of investing $10,000 a year and waiting 60 years to turn it into $1 million. Our goal is to use initial capital as a foundation to expand assets, not to aim for small wins with big risks. Do you see the difference? Here's my honest advice, which those who've been through it will understand. When you have nothing, no capital, instead of wasting time trying to make small bets for big wins, why not focus on investing in yourself? Because you are the only asset you can control, and you are the most valuable investment. Do you know how much a true talent is worth? Are exceptional talents hard to find? Do you have to compete to get them? I asked a friend in investment banking, and he said that when they invest in outstanding startup teams, they have to proactively approach and beg for the chance to invest. The founders don't even need to seek investors because funds are always short of good projects. So, what's the essence of a shortage of good projects? It's a shortage of people capable of turning projects into successes. That's why talent is the most critical factor. When you're young, if a nice outfit can increase your chances of landing a job, buy it without hesitation. If a dinner or a networking event can help you advance, you must attend. You have a long journey ahead. I hate hearing people talk about saving or cutting expenses. People only focus on saving when they're afraid they can't earn more. That's why I want to point you in a different direction. When the whole world is doing the same thing, you need to find a different path, a path that even big corporations don't care about. Take the money you'd invest in financial products each year and use it as startup capital. Combine it with your own skills to pursue small projects that big corporations overlook. I'll give you an idea. Think about it further. You could pay up front to buy a Mercedes, not to show off, but to become a private driver for senior executives of foreign companies or wealthy entrepreneurs. Since you're providing the car, your income wouldn't just be a driver's wage. You could charge for car rental, fuel, parking fees, and other expenses as part of your service package. Just tell the client, pay me a fixed monthly fee, and I'll handle everything. After deducting your own salary, within a few years, you could recover the cost of the car. I'm not making this up. A friend of mine did exactly this. Besides his main job, he used his car to earn extra income in his free time. The result? Within a few years, he made a 100% profit. Then he hired more drivers, expanded his investments, bought more cars, and soon became a small business owner. By then, he had capital in hand. Of course, this is just one idea, and there are many details to consider. You don't have to do exactly this. Some people say they'd rather die than be a driver. Plus, this job has income limits. I didn't take that path myself, but if someone can pull it off, that's already impressive. In my view, in the first 20 or even 30 years of life, interest rates and time are less important than how much capital you have. In the first 20 years of investing, the profits from interest rates and the compounding effect of time are negligible. The key is that your capital scale must be large enough. If you don't have much capital, it'll take you a long time to generate significant profits. When you're young, don't obsess over financial investments. The most important thing is you. Only by increasing your own value will you never lack money in the future. That's what you need to focus on right now. Distinguish clearly between what's important and what's urgent. That's how you should act. However, I'm not saying compound interest isn't important. It is. If you can maintain profits, the compounding effect becomes increasingly powerful over time. There's a principle called the lily pad effect. On the 30th day, the lily pad covers only half the pond, but by the 31st day, it covers the entire pond. This is exponential growth, the power of compound interest. This means that in the first 20 years, time and interest rates don't have a big impact. The most critical factor is still your initial capital. Due to time constraints, I'll stop here. We share free information on how to become wealthy, an entrepreneur, an investor, and achieve financial freedom. If you don't want to miss out, follow our channel, turn on notifications, and share this video. I sincerely wish those who've supported this video to achieve financial freedom soon. If even 1 or 2 sentences in this video help improve your life, I'll feel fulfilled.